Hello and welcome to this tutorial from aboutyourenglish.com. This is the third in a series of tutorials about adjective clauses. Previously, you saw how a restrictive adjective clause provides essential information. This tutorial is about non-restrictive adjective clauses. These are clauses that merely provide extra information or non-essential information. In contrast to a restrictive clause, a non-restrictive clause could be omitted and the reader would not feel that important information is missing. Here's an example. Martin and I stopped for lunch at a pizza place, which was very crowded. The non-restrictive adjective clause is which was very crowded. It's merely extra information about the pizza place. It may or may not be interesting, but it is unnecessary information. Aside from their purpose in sentences, non-restrictive clauses are different from restrictive clauses in two other ways. First, non-restrictive clauses are separated from main clauses with commas. That's an important difference. Second, the relative pronoun that is not used with non-restrictive clauses. Here's another example. Notice the commas that separate the non-restrictive clause from the main clause. My brother, who's getting married next week, has just lost his job. This sentence tells the reader that I have one brother, he has just lost his job, and he's getting married next week. If the commas are omitted, the meaning of the sentence changes. Without the commas, the adjective clause becomes restrictive, and it tells the reader that I have more than one brother, and that it is the brother who is getting married next week that has lost his job, not one of my other brothers. So when the meaning of the sentence can be changed with commas, it's important to understand the difference between a restrictive and a non-restrictive clause and to get the commas right. Here's another example. I've decided to sell the Ford, which has always been a problem. The underlined non-restrictive clause tells the reader that I have a Ford and it has always been a problem. If I omit the comma, the non-restrictive clause becomes a restrictive clause, and the reader may understand that I have more than one Ford and that I'm going to sell the one that has always been a problem. The tiny little comma makes an important difference. The relative pronouns used with non-restrictive clauses are the same as those for restrictive clauses with one exception. The pronoun that is not used with non-restrictive clauses. Here are examples of non-restrictive clauses with reference to a person with the relative pronouns who, whom, and whose. Here the relative pronoun who is the subject of the adjective clause. My sister is going to marry Richard, who has lived next door for 12 years. In the following sentence, the relative pronoun whom is the object in the non-restrictive adjective clause. Willie's new wife, whom I met just yesterday, is the president of a university. The possessive pronoun whose is used in the adjective clause in this sentence. My English teacher, whose son is in my math class, has just published a novel. The relative pronouns which and whose are used for reference to non-persons. Which is used for subjects and objects of a clause, and whose is a possessive pronoun. The relative pronoun which is the subject in the adjective clause in this sentence. On the holiday, which falls on a Tuesday this year, I'll be working in my office. The pronoun which is the object in the adjective clause in this first sentence. My wife once gave me a black silk tie, which I have never worn. The second sentence is an example of a relative pronoun that refers to the entire main clause. The new park will be closed next weekend, which I didn't know. Whose is the relative pronoun in the adjective clause here? Whose is a possessive, replacing its and referring to car. The car, whose brakes need to be replaced, was a great bargain. Remember that except for the pronoun that, all other relative pronouns may be used with non-restrictive adjective clauses. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and please check out aboutyourenglish.com.